Hi Booktubers, Andy from Stella's Revenge. And my God, I had a busy weekend. All of last week was just a blur. I've been involved in a Leadership Institute class in conjunction with my work since last spring. And so I just finished the last commitment for this class, and it was a huge barbecue that we threw last week. We started working on Wednesday night. We worked all of Thursday. We worked all of Friday into the night. I mean, we smoked like 50 briskets, like 800 pounds of Texas barbecue. So, I mean, it was just overwhelming. So, needless to say, I'm glad to have that out of the way and have my reading going a little more smoothly. Today I actually want to do a review of Vile Bodies by Evelyn Waugh. And I'm sorry to report, this was not a huge success for me. Now with that said, I appreciate this book. I appreciate it more knowing the historical and cultural context out of which it comes. But just as a read that I could enjoy and get invested in, it was not as successful for me. This book was published in 1938. It is 320 pages long, and this is an edition by Back Bay Books. And it focuses on the bright young things, the movers and shakers of this time period, coming out of World War II, or I'm sorry, coming out of World War I and then going into World War II. Evelyn Waugh is most definitely writing satire. I mean, this is full of irony, it's full of sarcasm, it's full of kind of cultural critique. However, I do find that the problem I have with satire is that the shorter it is, the better I like it. And so because this was 320 pages, I did find it rather tiresome by the time it was all over. I read a wonderful satire earlier this year called The Suicide Shop by Jean Toulet, and it was only around 100 pages. And so I find that with the characters in satire, I often feel separate from them. I can't really, relate to them as closely. They're more caricatures, and so I think that's why I tend to struggle with satire sometimes. I think it's very clever. I understand it. I get it, but I just can't get as emotionally invested. And for me, that emotional investment can really push a book over the edge into something fantastic. So, in Vile Bodies, again, like I say, we're looking at the bright young things. Our protagonist is named Adam Symes. He is a writer. At the beginning of the book, he has written his memoir that is supposed to make him rich so that he can marry Nina Blount. And the censors, when he comes into the country, I can't remember if he was coming into France, but he was getting off of the boat. And the censors at customs decided that his book was trash. It wasn't pornography, but it wasn't quality. And so they banned it, censored it, burned it, got rid of it. And so with that goes his fortune. And so he tells Nina, I don't have my money anymore. We can't get married. And she's like, oh, darling, what a bore. She just totally blows it off. And they stay together, and we have one of the first recurring things in this book, and that's that Adam comes into money and loses it. I don't know how many times. So he and Nina are constantly bouncing back and forth about whether or not they are going to get married. Meanwhile, they are surrounded by this social set that just parties all the time. And I get it, coming out of World War I, this kind of aloof, carefree vapidness would be a reaction to that thing, right? That big, heavy thing that the country, the world had to work through. And I get it. It's satire. But I just couldn't love it. I couldn't be invested enough in the characters to love it with my heart and not just my head. You know what I'm saying? Objectively, I appreciate it. I appreciate what it accomplishes. I appreciate Waugh's writing. But I appreciate this book rather than liking it. So, I don't know if I'll ever reread it. I do plan to try more Waugh. Brideshead Revisited is on my Classics Club list, as this one was. And I was budding reading this one with Chelsea, and she struggled with it quite a bit too, so I don't know if she's going to be finishing it. I really thought I could read it in a day or two, given the size of the text and the margins. but it took me the better part of a week kind of making myself pick it up. So this is also one of Leslie's favorites from Words of a Reader. She mentioned, because I did mention I think to her that I was struggling with it, and she said to watch the film adaptation by Stephen Fry. And I do think this is one of those books that, because it is satire, that would play better for me on film than it would written. That doesn't happen very often, but it does sometimes. So I'm very much looking forward to watching that film. So yeah, have you read Val Waddy's? What did you think of it? I would love to know. Y'all have a great day.